Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the studios of Grafton Community Television, located at 26 Providence Road. This is Meet the Candidate. My guest this afternoon is currently the chair of the school committee. Her name is Amy Marr. Hi.
Hi, Bob.
This is your first time on the floor in front of the cameras, and
Hardly.
that was a bold-faced lie, right?
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So you are going to run for another term on school committee.
I am.
Good for you. Have you ever had any second thoughts about that?
I mean, I asked my family before I decided to run the second time,
Mhm.
because things are a little bit different now than they were in 2019 when I got on the board. There's a lot more discourse about school committees and throughout the Commonwealth and throughout the country, and I told my family flat out, I said, you know, my girls are older now, and I didn't want to run without their support. And they all said, well, you have to run. Like it wasn't even a question for them. So I appreciate their support.
So that's nice that everybody just gathers around and gives you the support you need. Because I would think that if I had teenage children, they would have a lot of, I have grown children, they give me a lot of feedback, but I mean, if they were teenagers, I would be concerned about how they felt.
Yeah, they don't want to be dragged to too many events or have to, you know, be part of the campaign necessarily. But now my oldest is old enough to vote, so she's actually talking with her friends and trying to get out the vote for me, which I really appreciate, because I think a lot of kids probably wouldn't do that, but she's really supportive. So it's nice.
Okay. So despite the number of times that you've been in the studio here when you were doing Twig, I don't really know a lot about you.
Oh.
So what have you done for work?
In a former life, I was a UX UI designer. That means that I would figure out the best way to present information on a website. So I would do usability studies and document them, talk to the stakeholders, because sometimes when a company creates a website for its customers, they're thinking about the information they want to push out, and a lot of times they kind of miss the mark on what the customers actually need. And you know, I know that our town website is about to be redone, and I'm hoping that a lot of those little issues will get resolved, because the language that is used on the town website is language that is very unfamiliar to the majority of the residents here, which makes it really hard for them to find things. So that's what I did for work for a decade, a little bit more than that. And then we made the decision that I would stay home with our younger daughter. And she was 1 when I kind of stepped out of the workforce.
Okay.
And so it was interesting to have the working mom experience and then the stay-at-home mom experience. So I don't think I'll go back at this point. I think I devote the majority of my time to volunteering in the community, and I think that's the way it's going to be. So yeah, I'm too far out of the industry to really go back.
So I've never heard of that type of career before. So you have to kind of break down the acronyms and the government speak and make it everyday person kind of.
So and UX is user experience and UI is user interface.
Okay.
So you want to worry about both. Like, what's the experience of browsing a website like? And you can use data to kind of analyze. You want people to stay on your site. You want them to stay on your pages and read the content. And you can tell pretty quickly from looking at data how effective a particular page is. So I found that sort of thing fascinating. And when I graduated, there was no degree program for that sort of thing. I just kind of fell into the right place, right time, situation. I had the right credentials for the time, and now kids can go to college and they can major in that, and they can come out with an undergraduate degree in it, which is super exciting. So yeah, it's definitely a changed industry.
Everything has changed.
That's true.
So when you originally ran for school committee, was there a specific reason, or did you just think, this might be interesting?
I thought it was interesting. A seat was open. I didn't want to unseat anybody on the committee at the time because I thought they were doing a really great job. And so I thought about it a few years prior to running, and I decided I would just kind of wait a little while. And my girls got to an age where they really didn't need mom around quite as much. And so that was kind of a nice confluence of, again, right place, right time. I took a chance, and I got the seat. And it turned out very differently than I could have ever imagined. I thought school committee was about, you know, the budget certainly, managing the superintendent certainly, advocating for students certainly, but it all changed in March of 2020 when our jobs became extremely different. from what we had thought they would be. So.
Explain managing the superintendent.
So he reports to the committee of 5. We evaluate him. We do give him direction. He tells us what he thinks the strategic plan should be for the district, and we just looked at one a couple of weeks ago. We give him feedback on that. We're really fortunate to have an awesome superintendent in Dr. Cummings.
I was going to say, how much management could he absolutely?
Not much. And
we both know him.
There aren't too many people that I can truly say are irreplaceable. And there will never be another superintendent like him, ever. He's just amazing. He knows exactly what the needs are. He knows exactly how to address them. He works well with the committee. His staff looks to him for leadership. And he really is just a quiet leader. He's not overbearing. And we're fortunate to have him and to be able to keep him around. So, yeah. A lot of superintendents quit as a result of the pandemic. So I'm super proud that we were able to hold on to Jay, because that's a problem you don't want to have right now, is trying to hire a superintendent as we come out of the pandemic. It's tough.
Funny, I never would have given thought to the idea that a superintendent would quit. I know teachers were flunking out the door, but
Yep. It's still happening.
interesting.
Yeah. Teachers, administrators, everybody, paras. They're tired, and I don't blame them. I mean, it's been a long 2 years, and we're not still fully 100% back. There's still definitely challenges, but not really being able to take much time off, having to do double the work simply because of the way you teach or don't teach, and it's just been an impossible task. And I'm so proud of everything that's gone on and been done, and I think we handled and weathered the pandemic very well. So I'm very proud to have been a part of that.
Are there any course studies at the high school that you wish they had?
I mean, yeah. One of the things that I talk about a lot is, we have a group of students who really need trade school education that don't get into BBT. And I view that as a problem, because we end up with students who, they could drop out. We spend a lot of time and effort keeping students in school. And I feel like we're not able to get some students the trade education that they need. And it's happening all over the country. As much as people talk about, well, it's not all about college, we need trades too. We do need trades. We have a huge trade shortage that a lot of people aren't aware of. I see every day people are posting on the groups looking for plumbers, HVAC people, carpenters, and as kind of the older generation starts to retire, we're left with a gaping hole because a lot of the technical vocational schools changed their model. They want A students with great attendance, no discipline problems, whereas the kids who need trade schools don't meet those requirements. And so it's a real problem. I'm really passionate about kind of meeting kids where they are, and I feel like we're moving into a situation where we're going to need to provide some more of that trade education. I know the high school has ramped up manufacturing quite a bit in the past couple of years. That's a very popular pathway, I guess you could call it. We've added coursework for that. We've added computer science courses. We've expanded that to have coders and programmers. They'll go on to college, but at least we're getting them started. In terms of what I wish we had, I'm really proud that we're able to have a drama teacher next year, a drama arts teacher. This individual is going to be able to teach courses to the kids in acting, studying theater, technical theater, and public speaking. And I think that those are needs that we have. We needed to add more electives for the kids. So I wished for it for a long time. The timing wasn't quite right, and now it is, and I'm really happy to be able to provide those for the kids.
So all of the talented kids that are putting on productions now, they're on their own?
They learn on the fly.
Are you serious?
We have Lisa Scarlett from Apple Tree Arts that comes in and directs the productions. She's done a fantastic job, but I think we need to take it to that next level where the kids who want to do it but maybe don't feel confident, can take courses and improve their skills and go out for the musical, the play, that kind of thing. We have kids who are interested in screenwriting. We don't currently offer anything like that. We will be able to offer that next year. So I think that's fantastic. Maybe you'll see more shows down here at the studio as a result. Yeah. That'd be great.
That is cool.
It is cool.
I imagine See, back in the day when I was in high school, it was TV production or radio production, but now when you mentioned screenwriting, the screenwriting would never have entered my mind.
Well, the kids have the technology. They think they have the technology. I don't want to.
Well, we all
I
do.
don't
You
want.
just hold your phone
I don't want
up
to
and-
downplay what you all do down
Yeah.
here. That's another level. But yeah, kids can make movies on their own, but they might need to learn how to write stuff out. That's not just hey, look at this cool thing. So it's taking filmmaking to the next level, and that's gonna really help, I think.
So what are some of the strengths of the Grafton school system?
Well, I think we've done a really great job with the special education program. We have a reputation now. We're kind of the go-to district in the area for special education. Dr. Cummings gets phone calls every day from families that want to school choice their children in from other towns so they can take advantage of our special education services. We can't take them all. We can only take about 100 a year. But we've come so far, and we've been able to manage the budget so well. We're very smart about who we hire and assign to each student. We're very smart about the out-of-district placements that, there are some kids that do need it, that we can't quite meet them where they're at. We have to send them out of district. And as you know, I'm sure that's extremely expensive. We send a very low percentage of students out of district, and we're very proud of that. We want to keep them here in Grafton in the community. We want inclusion. We want kids to go to school like everybody else, not go someplace where they're going to feel, not part of everything. So I'm very proud of that. I think Dr. Cummings has done an excellent job getting the right people in the right places. We have Bob Wall as the director. He's done an awesome job. Nicole McDonald is in charge of kind of the younger kids, the preschool and everything. And everything that I hear from parents is positive, everything that I hear. So I think it's great.
So where do we come up short?
I think that one of our challenges coming out of this pandemic especially is, and we talk about meeting students where they are, and we do a really great job with the special education group. But I think what we need to do now is look at the kids that are kind of in the middle, right? They're not honor students, and they're not special education students. Kids who, there's a bit of an achievement gap. And Dr. Cummings has talked to us a lot about that and ideas that they have on how to address it. We've already kind of moved in that direction, but that's kind of the challenge in the next couple of years. And I'll say especially at the middle school level, not that the middle school does a bad job, but we have a number of students that they don't stand out from the crowd, and so they kind of get overlooked a little bit. And I think that we've got the pieces in place to address it. We've got math coordinators, literacy coordinators. We've got Tracy Kalo, who used to be our assistant superintendent, is now basically focusing on 7 to 12 curriculum. We didn't have anybody kind of focusing on that holistically, and I think that's going to make a huge, huge difference moving forward. So we're meeting the challenge, but it's still a challenge.
So when a student doesn't stand out, it's not necessarily a result of education.
Right.
It could be...
They fly under the radar, especially in middle school. We have a number of students that have anxiety after the pandemic, and they just want to go in and keep their head down and not get noticed. They don't want to volunteer for things. They don't want to raise their hand in class. They just want to get in, do what's required, and go home. And I think a lot of it is because some of them were kept home for so long that they kind of, I say to my one daughter all the time, they've forgotten how to people. They've forgotten how to interact with their peers. They haven't seen them. We have many students who changed schools in the middle of the pandemic and set foot in those schools for the very first time this year. And so learning how to get along and how to communicate and how to do group work is a huge challenge for those kids. So we're keeping an eye. Teachers are keeping an eye and, kind of, I don't want to say red flagging because that sounds bad, but, making note of kids who need a little extra support, whether that's academic support or emotional support. Both are very important. So, yeah.
So I was that kid, which is why I'm interested in the topic, because how do you reach out and connect to those children and not scare them away, push them further away? Because I enjoyed school, but I couldn't wait for that 3 o'clock bell out the door, And
It's not for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily the educational part of it, it's the social part of it.
Yeah, I struggled in middle school especially. I was a private school child up through grade 6. And then I changed towns and school districts, completely new world, no uniforms, the rules were totally different. And within 3 months, I moved again. And within 9 months, I moved again. So I went to 3 different middle schools. So I'm the kind of kid that I like to think teachers would have kept an eye on if this were now. You know, who's hanging out with Amy? Who's talking to Amy? Who's Amy trying to stay away from? And I think our teachers are pretty good at that at this point, and they're getting way better.
What was the answer to that question?
Nobody. I flew under the radar. I went to school, I did my work, I got my A's, I went home.
Who was Bob staying away from? Everybody.
Who's Amy staying away from? Yeah, I didn't have a lot of friends in middle school simply because of the moving. And middle school is just, it's awful. It's a hard time of life for kids. So much change. They don't understand what's happening to them. They don't understand what's happening to their friends. You know, you see it all the time. A lot of friendships that have been since they were in preschool, suddenly, now they don't mesh anymore. You know, I've gone through it now with 2 daughters. I have a graduating senior and an 8th grader who's going to go to the high school next year, and I see all the same things. You know, so-and-so, I was friends with her, and now I'm friends with this person, and it changes like 45 times in the school year. But when they get to high school, things, I find anyway, settle down. They find their people through different activities, and I think that's one thing that was missing in the pandemic was, you know, they didn't really have too many activities they could offer. So it was hard for a brand new middle schooler to find their crowd, to find their people. And as you know, that's when the 7th grade, it comes together from north and south for the first time. So it's a bunch of new people they've never met maybe, combined with now we're either at home or fully remote. It was really, really tough. And you can't get to know somebody if you have to stay 6 feet apart. So that's been a real challenge. But I'm hoping as these middle schoolers move into high school, I have every confidence that they're going to be fine. But it's tough.
So what's the biggest challenge that you face in the post-COVID world?
Mental health, hands down. We have so many more students at all levels that have anxiety, diagnosed, undiagnosed. It's really hard to get services for them right now. I have a number of friends who've been trying to find therapists for their children. They're just, you know, 9-month wait to get on a list to get therapy for their child. And in the meantime, you know, they just suffer, and it's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking. I mean, you know, somehow school districts have now become responsible for mental health services as a result of that. We've always had, you know, adjustment counselors and whatnot, but their workloads have, I'm going to say, quadrupled. You know, kids, they don't know how to cope with all these feelings that they have. They need help, and that's what the social emotional learning programming that we've put into the schools over the past few years really helps kids understand what they're feeling and what to do about it, and when to tell an adult, right? Because that's a big issue. You know, when is it just you, and when is it, okay, I really need to tell a grown-up about this? You know, we have kids who go home at the end of the day and there's not a mom and dad around for several hours. So they do still have quite a bit of alone time. And, you know, when you're alone with your feelings and you don't know how to cope, that's really difficult for those kids. So, you know, I'm really happy that we've managed to get guidance counselors into the lowest elementary schools finally, school psychologists, to help the littlest kids, the littlest members of our community, learn about, you know, these big feelings that they have and what does it all mean. But it's constant. It's not going to go away. It's something we're going to be saddled with for decades to come, I think.
So do you have any favorite Grafton school traditions?
I do. It's strange because I'm in such a different place now than I was before the pandemic. I had an elementary schooler and a middle schooler, and now I have a middle schooler and a high schooler. And so I'm excited for the old traditions to come back. So I've got my older daughter going to prom at the DCU Center like we've always done it. They're going to have graduation at the Hanover like we used to do it. And surprisingly, that's cheaper than doing it on the football field, which was wonderful. And you know, we had to have a graduation. I know there were districts that did not or did it over Zoom. But the ceremonies that we did hold on the football field were fantastic. But it's still nice to go back to kind of what we've always expected we would see for our kids, is going to the Hanover. It's fancy and it's cheaper. My younger daughter's going to get to go to Washington, D.C. I think that's a fantastic way to end the 8th grade year where they do civics. And then they go to D.C. and they learn about all these places that, you know, that they've been talking about. I'm excited that Nature's Classroom is back for the 6th grade. They used to go in the winter. They would send North Street School, and then they would send Millbury Street School a separate week. But this year, they're going to go in the spring, and they're going to all go together right before they start 7th grade. And I think that's just fantastic timing. So I'm really excited for those kids to be able to have that opportunity like my girls did. In terms of elementary school traditions, I really miss volunteering for things like Colonial Day, Immigration Day. I was pretty good at throwing kids out who were trying to bring things into the country that were illegal. They had to draw a little suitcase and they would pack for their trip to America, and they would put in things like an iPod, which, okay, now you know how old I am, you know, and I'd look at it as if I were a colonial person, and I'd be like, I don't know what that is. That could be a weapon, and you don't get to come in now. Like, you should have just brought something I'd recognize. And many Thanksgivings was one of my favorite celebrations at South Grafton Elementary. And it was so good to teach the kids about the Pilgrims and all the traditions that the Nipmucks had here in town. It was really a great opportunity. So I miss volunteering in the schools a little bit, but now I do this.
So the last 2 minutes belong to you.
Oh.
You're going to get the opportunity to talk to the folks at home. And that's your camera over there. Take it away.
Okay. Well, my name is Amy Marr. I am running to be reelected to the Grafton School Committee. I've been so proud and pleased to serve the town these past 3 years. I'm so proud of the work that we've accomplished, and I want to do more. I want to serve more. I want to work more for the students of Grafton. And if you don't know me, please come on my Facebook page, facebook.com/AmyMarr4SC. You'll be able to learn more about me and how I make decisions, issues that are important to me as a mom, and there's also information on how you can support my campaign. So I would love to get everybody's vote on May 17th.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much, Bob. It was
Appreciate
great.
it. Amy Marr is running for re-election for the Grafton School Committee. On behalf of the talented people that work here at Grafton Community Television, this has been Meet the Candidate. Thank you for watching. I'm Bob DeToma.